Hey everybody, thank you for watching HM Studio. This tutorial is going to be like a workshop. I'm going to be teaching you how to make materials, do the lighting, and also we're going to do some post-production in Photoshop. So without any further ado, let's start. I've chosen this master bathroom for my workshop, which is a very regular bathroom with a shower screen, a bathtub, and we have the vanity over here. Alright. As I taught you in my previous tutorials, the first step is to enable the override material and assign a simple corona material to that. Since all the materials in this scene will be in the range of gray to white, it's better if I make the corona material a bit brighter. So let's instance the material into the material editor and increase the diffuse value up to 160. Okay. The next step is to exclude the light and glass materials from the overhead material, so the light could travel inside through the window. Now let's start the render to see what we got. As you can see, it's completely dark because we don't have any light sources in the scene. So let's start by adding the corona sun into the scene. Now we're going to set up the light mix in order to make the lighting process a bit easier. So far we have two light sources, and this way we can adjust their intensity much faster and also easier. Alright, let's click over here, select instance lights, which is the default value, and click OK. And now let's run the interactive rendering again. Now we're able to adjust their intensity from here. I'm going to decrease the sunlight's intensity and also make the environment light a bit brighter. When I finish the modifications, I'm going to click on this button over here. This button bakes all light mix colors and intensities into the scene lights, and after clicking this, the image displayed in the frame buffer will be temporarily changed to non-light mix version. And if you want to get the desired effect, you need to re-render the image. And also, lights that are instanced will become unique, so we're not going to have instanced light sources in the scene anymore. But it doesn't matter because we can control them over here in the light mixer. You remember that we've changed the intensity on Corona Sky. So if I instance the Corona Sky into the material editor, you can see that it's plugged into a color correction node with the exposure of 10279. Okay, let's add the halogen lights. So I'm going to select and isolate all of them, and from the top view I'm going to add a Corona disc light below each and every one of these halogen lamps. Before I copy this light, I'm going to add an IS profile to that, and I'm going to use this one which comes with the Corona renderer. Now let's increase the intensity up to 200 and make it a little bit warmer. Since I want to use the instance lights option in the setup light mix menu, and since I want these lights to be in separated groups, I'm going to copy the first one and instance the other two so they work in the groups of 3. Once again, let's set up the light mix and start the render. We don't need any of these options, so let's disable all of them. Now I can just turn off all the lights from here and adjust the intensity and color of all of these lights separately. So for this one, I can make it a bit warmer or cooler, but in this case I'm going with warmer. Let's add the environment light also. And it already looks good. But let's enable all the other lights to see what the result will be with all the lights together. It looks pretty nice so far, and now that we have all of our lights in the scene, it's time to make some materials. Okay, I'm going to start with the mirror material. So let's create a corona material and change its name to mirror. Let's get rid of the diffuse because we don't need that, and increase the reflection up to 1. Put 999 as the Fresnel IOR, and that's it. I'm going to disable the override material since I don't need it anymore, and let's take care of all the chrome objects in the scene. First of all, let's select all the objects with chrome material, and I'm going to use the chrome material from the Corona material library. Okay, in order to do that, let's open up the material library, find the chrome fingerprints material under the metal category, and assign it to the selected objects. The only thing that we have to do right now is to add a UVW map modifier to these objects, select the box mapping, and enable the real world map size. That's it. So I'm going to hide these objects for now and continue with the handles. For all of the handles that I have, I'm going to use the rose gold material from the metal category. Once again, let's add the UVW map modifier with the same settings and hide the objects once we're finished. Okay, I'm going to use a single material for all the tiles and stones that I have in the scene. So let's start by selecting all of them except the floor and create the material. Now, open up the material editor and create a corona material. As for the diffuse map, I'm going to use a pit map. This is it. I'm going to use this one for the diffuse, and I'm going to use the real world scale and use 150 centimeters for both width and height. Now let's increase the reflection up to 1 and apply the texture to the selected objects. Now we need to add a UVW map modifier, enable the real world map size and the box mapping. Alright, in order to randomize the texture on each element of these objects, we need to use the Corona UVW map randomizer. So let's drag it into the material editor, but before I do anything else, I would like to render the scene for you guys to see the difference after we use the randomizer. Alright, as you can see, it looks seamless, which is not something that we want. Now let's put the UVW randomizer in between and adjust its setting. As for the mode, I'm going to use mesh element, and as you know, each of these tiles is one element. So for the next step, let's change the offset on U and V from 0 to 1 with 0.25 for the step and 0 to 360 for the rotation with 45 as for the step. Now you can see it's completely randomized and it actually looks good. For the floor tiles, I'm going to use one of the ready-to-use Corona materials from the material library. So let's select the floor tiles, open up the material library, go to the stone category and apply this material to the selection. Now we need to add the UVW map modifier and also use the randomizer for this material as well. For these small tiles, I want to use the same material, but I want them to be darker at the edges. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a Corona AO map here in between and plug the diffuse texture to the unoccluded node. Make the occluded color to something grayish and enable only the same object occludes. Now let's apply the material and run the interactive rendering. Okay, I'm going to change this color to red so it gets easier to tell the difference. Reduce the max distance to 1 cm and change this option to outside plus inside. Let's also increase the color spread to 0.3. Okay, it started to show up, but let's increase the color spread to 0.6. Okay, it looks good. Now I'm gonna change the color back to gray. Let's make it a little bit darker. I also want to make the dark areas on this texture a bit brighter because I don't need that much of contrast on them. In order to do that, I can double click on the bitmap, enable the color map in the output rollout and move this vertex up to 10%. Here you can clearly see the difference, right? It looks like I forgot to apply the stone material to the backsplash, so let me do that and we're going to make the fiberglass material afterward. Okay, let's create another Corona material, change the diffuse color to 190, increase the reflection up to 1 and decrease the glossiness to 0.6 and apply the material to the selected objects. As for the bump map, I'm going to use a texture which I've downloaded before I record this tutorial, which is this one. Now let's apply a UVW map modifier with the same settings as the other ones and change the width and height of the texture to 5 cm. Now let's see the result. I'm going to disable the interactive denoising so I could get a better look at the details. Let's increase the size of the bump maps texture to something like 10 centimeters. For this tutorial, I'm not going to make very complex materials, and I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible until I make some more videos dedicated to making materials. Alright, this one also looks good. Now I can add some cameras and start the rendering. So let's put the first camera right here and make it perpendicular to this wall. I'm going to make it a bit wider. When we don't have enough room to put the cameras, we can always use the camera clipping. In order to do that, we just need to enable it from here and increase this value to get rid of everything that is blocking the camera's view, which in this case is the wall and the bathtub. Don't forget to enable the automatic vertical tilt, because this one is really important. Okay, this one looks good. Now let's add another camera over here and disable the camera clipping since we don't need it anymore. In order to get a little bit of depth of field, I have to move the camera's target to here, enable depth of field, and reduce the f-stop to 1.8. Alright, I'm going to render these two cameras without changing anything in the render settings, and we'll do some post-production afterward. Alright guys, rendering has finished, and this is the first one. This is the raw render straight out of the Corona renderer without any adjustments, and here is what I'm going to do. Let's turn off all the lights and then enable and modify them one by one. Just increase or decrease the intensity and make the lights warmer or cooler. I mean, don't be afraid to try different lighting setups until you find the best one for your shot. And as you can see, this is exactly what I'm doing right now. I've decreased the environment and Corona Sky's intensity and made the halogen lamps a bit warmer, and that was all. Now let's give it a little bit of contrast with the curve. I've told you all about this curve in one of my other videos, and you can find the link on the top right corner of the video right now. So make sure to watch that one also, because I'm sure that you'll find it useful. Now let's enable the glare and bloom and increase the bloom effect, and we're done. Now we can do some post-production in Photoshop. In order to do that, you need to first copy the render from here, then open up Photoshop and create a new project and paste the render with Ctrl V. Always the first step is to make a copy of this layer, so if something went wrong, we could get back to this one. If you select the camera raw render from the filter menu, this window will pop up. And there are just a few steps to completely change the way that this render looks, and they're pretty easy. Let's just play with these sliders until we're happy with the result. I always start with the clarity and texture, then I manipulate the contrast, highlight, shadows, and other stuff. Let's just add some bluish tint to the shadows and make the highlights a bit warmer. And we're done with this render, and I'm going to repeat the whole process for the other one as well. Alright guys, that was all for this video, and I hope that you found it useful. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section below, and I will write back as soon as possible. Once again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you think these kind of videos can help you to improve your skills. Okay, be safe and see you next time.